Hello and welcome back to another Writerly Witterings. Just a quick one. I'm not going to be talking for too long today because I've got a huge amount of work to do. However, I've been inundated with 2 or 3 questions. I've been asked, can you have more than one document on your alpha, on your Freewrite alpha? Can you change those keypads? Can you get different fonts? So I just thought I'd take this opportunity of just running through a few of these questions and answering them, because I've been playing with this. Now, let's just say, first of all, the first thing I've done is, as you will remember, I have commented a couple of times that I'm really not over the moon with the keyboard, because each of the keys is quite a large square key. And I did wonder whether it was possible to do something about that. Now, I discovered that I think these keys are, well, the key switches are called Kahl, K-A-H-L. I'm not certain, but I think they are. And I've heard from talking to the very nice people at thekeyboardcompany.co.uk, based over in Slough, and they're the chaps I get all my keyboards from, such as this little beauty, which is a Keychron keyboard. Now, why have I got this funny V-shaped keyboard? It's because last year I had to have an operation on this elbow, and this year I have an operation coming up on this elbow, because sitting at a keyboard where the keyboard is all straight, your wrists are at an angle. And that can cause 2 problems. The first is carpal tunnel syndrome, where the tendons are stretched in the hand. And the second is cubital tunnel syndrome, which I've got. And that is where the, I've got to remember the name of the flaming thing now. But there is a nerve, whose name escapes me, that runs up underneath the elbow. And as you get to be a very old fart like me, there's a bony spur that can grow over it, and it compresses that specific nerve. And the first sign apparently is that you can't, well, you lose all strength in your little finger. Another classic sign is you get this big dent in between your thumb and forefinger, and also the amount of dent that you have in the palm of your hand. Now, it's probably not so obvious here, but this is quite prominent. This is far less so. My left hand is significantly better than my right, even after the operation, but it's still going, and so they're going to have me in and put me under the knife again, because, you know, surgeons have to build up their pension fund somehow. So the reason why I've got a V-shaped keyboard, I've been using them for some years, is that with a V shape, your hands suddenly are straight. And so for an awful lot of my work, I'll use this V-shaped Keychron keyboard, purely because it prevents further damage done to my cubital tunnel. Ulnar nerve, that's the one, the ulnar, U-L-N-A-R. The other problem that people have is, this is very much a writer's and a typist's type of thing, but if you type with your elbows resting on an armrest, as I always do, that's another thing where you're compressing the ulnar nerve and it's just increasing the problem that you've got. So that's why I have this keyboard. And I love the fact that it has these big clicky keys that make a noise when you hit them, because there is a specific break point as you're pressing which makes that crackle, but it's also noticeable on your fingers, and it makes typing just that bit better. Now, the Freewrite and the Alpha have got really good keyboards. They have really good key switches, and if you're observant, you'll notice that these keys are all different. They're not the original keys, what I got with the machine. And that's because I had this old keyboard, which I've put somewhere now. Oh yeah, down there. This was my old keyboard before I got my new iMac and got a new keyboard. And these are the Cherry MX keys, which are wonderful. And as you can see, they've got a little cross on the top. And I discovered, because I was advised by someone who looked at the very first review I did, and I said, I just wish the keys were a bit sculpted. And he said, I think you can take pretty much any keys and fit them on there. And I spoke to the nice chaps at the keyboard company and they said, oh yes, it looks like that, but you can't, because these are short travel Carl keys. They're a specific type. And so, as you can see, if I turn the keyboard, the Carl original keys only stand out maybe 3 to 4 millimeters above the base of the machine, whereas these keys stand up well over 0.5 centimetre. So you can see that they're sticking out considerably more than the grey keys there. It's been interesting actually. I've found that using these, my fingers know exactly where to go immediately because they have that little recess in the top. And I don't know, I might keep these keys on this keyboard. I might revert to the grey ones, the Carl keycaps that came with it, because it doesn't feel entirely normal having my... Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I just went to all this effort of saying that I really wanted old-fashioned recessed keycaps. As soon as I put them on, I thought, oh, it doesn't feel quite right now. Maybe those big square ones are actually more efficient for me. But I'll keep going. The main takeaway is you can get standard keys and fit them on. If you've got an old keyboard knocking around, like I have with my Cherry MX keys, you may well be able to pull them off and then just use a key puller to pull off the original Carl type keycaps and replace them with whatever you want. So that I found rather useful, an interesting experiment, and it worked. Second question I had was someone said, oh no, I've heard you can only have one document on the machine. They'd watched somebody else's video and the video said, ah, well, yeah, you've only got the one document you can work on. No, you turn it on. You can have, I've so far got about 20 documents on this. You just press new and new, these two buttons here, and it will call up a new document for you. It's that easy. I think where the reviewer might have got confused is that when you're working with the old style Freewrite, the original Freewrite that looks like a typewriter, with that you had 3 folders. Each folder could contain a huge number of documents, but you had 3 folders, A, B and C. This hasn't. This only has one folder, folder A, and when you back up your machine over the cloud or anything, it will go to folder A in your postbox, unless of course you don't bother, because what you can also do is just plug a USB cable into there, plug it into your computer, and this just becomes an extra disk drive. So you can call up any document you've got on here straight to your computer. You don't have to use the cloud. So if you're nervous about such things, turn off Wi-Fi, just use it as a backup disk. It's dead easy. It's literally that easy on my Apple iMac anyway. I just plug the cable in, it calls up, and I can see I've got a Seagate drive, I've got a Toshiba drive, I've got my Apple iMac drive, and no name drive. That's it. Go into that, call up the documents, it's straight into my word processor, and I can carry on working. Wonderful. If you pay a bit extra, I haven't done this, so I'm not too sure of the exact money, but you can have a two-way street. You can synchronize your machines so that you can work on your Freewrite, go home, edit on your main computer there, and then when you want to, pick up your Freewrite and call up the document again there to re-edit or to continue typing. That's something I will have to try out before too long, because that does sound like a very appealing additional function. So that's the keyboard, that's the folder systems. You can have as many documents as you want on this, as I say. And when I say as many as you want, I think you're talking about possibly tens or hundreds of thousands. It's really not an issue. I also have been asked about fonts and whether you can change the fonts on the screen. Now, this little screen, dinky little thing that it is, turn it on, you might just be able to, yeah, you may not be able to see. You can see some lines of text there. Basically, it's an old-fashioned liquid crystal screen, which means that I guess it may be possible somehow to change the style of font, but basically what you see is what you get. There's no changing the actual character set. There's 3 adjustments you can do. You can change it from small writing, in which case you've got 4 lines. You can have it set to medium writing, which means 3 lines, or you can have it big, in which case you've got 2 lines. I had been working with it with 2 lines last week, but that's because I had injections into both eyes, because I'm not going to go into detail, I bored you with that sort of thing before, but basically I've got diabetic damage done to both eyes, and I have to have injections regularly every 4 weeks. Last week I had a set of injections and I could not read the screen very well. This week that seems to have worn off and I can read the screen much better. So whereas last week I had it set to big with 2 lines, this week I've had it on medium with 3 lines and I can read it fine. So you have different size options, you don't have different character set options. You can't change the font. Another thing that I have mentioned before is that I found it difficult to read the liquid crystal screen when it was dark. Yes, I did. Partly, again, largely probably because of my eyesight, but I mentioned that I thought I had a workaround. This is my workaround, a little light that dangles from the top of my iMac screen over the top of my little screen here, and I can read it absolutely fine. It's also jolly useful when you're talking to people on the internet at night, because it means you can see my face. Is that a benefit or a disbenefit? I leave that to your judgment. Right, what else was there? No, that was about it actually. So I like the typing angle. I like the keyboard, by which I mean the actual switches are very, very nice to use. Something else I may consider is whether or not it's feasible to switch out some of these switches, but I don't need to worry about that yet, it still works fine. If you go for, like me, some different keys, just bear in mind that they may be slightly sticky because they may be a bit larger or tighter fitting than the keys should be for this. So it may take a little bit of time to find the right type of key that'll suit you and the thing. But the fact that they stick up a bit higher than the old keys did, when I was talking to the keyboard company, they said, oh, you really can't use ordinary keys because they'll stick up far too far. They just won't work. Actually, I find they work absolutely fine. Obviously what you don't want to do is buy a brand new device and then change the keys over though. So I did do this largely as an experiment for review purposes, but it's been a very successful experiment. I'm very happy with it. So overall impressions still very, very positive. I love the slimness. I love the lightweightedness. I like the fact you can tilt its angle, so you can type it with a higher rake, because I do tend to type with a high rake. And I think it looks attractive too, actually. And I've been taking this out with me in my little shoulder bag when I go out walking the dogs, so that I can make notes, because I'm currently finishing up book, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, book 9 in my Blackjack series. And I've got to that exciting bit at the end of the book where I'm trying to work out how to wind everything down, how to tie up all of the loose ends, how to get rid of all of the red herrings, and all the other little details. But I've also lost a fair amount of time today, because today I suddenly received a number of these, which are book 2 in my Art of Murder series. Here's book 1, that's book 2. And jolly good they both are too. So if you're now bored and wondering what sort of book to read, and you fancy a bit of humour in a modern day cracking murder mystery, and Publishers Weekly said superb, a fast moving and gripping plot. Kirkus said plenty of action, all too plausible suspects hidden in a thicket of duplicity. And there's lots of other stuff, loads of twists and turns, a hilarious tale of criminal ineptitude. That's not very kind to my protagonist, is it? But if you're hard up for something to read, that's an excellent way of supporting this author. Go out and order your copy from Amazon. And apart from that, I'm going to wind up now. I'm going to put a little video of the puppy in, because she's been absolutely monstrous recently, and I want to remind myself that she can be cute on occasion. She's eaten a section of floor, she's chewed up 3 of her rubber Kongs, which has had a deleterious effect upon her internal movements. I won't go into any more detail, you really don't want it. The only thing that saved her life is the fact that she is such a beautiful and affectionate little dog, as you can see from these videos. But apart from that, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for watching. Speak to you soon. Take care.
Yugoslavian.